what's your thinking now? And if you got your time again, what might you do differently?
Yeah, what I'm very happy about with the management team, the board we've had here over the years, is we stick to our strategy.
Yeah.
Today I have a North Star that's a couple of years down the road, anywhere from 3 to 5. I've got a 10-year product plan. And as you said, when Afterpay went to the moon, everybody's like, why can't you be like Afterpay? And there's a couple of reasons for that. If you and I are down the road on Martin Place and you're handing people $100 and saying, here, take $100, pay me back in 4 equal instalments. Yeah. And I'm on the other side saying, hey, give me $100, I'll look after it. Yeah. Whose queue's going to be longer? Yeah. Simple themes, because our customers said, we want to invest in what we did. So we made a socially responsible portfolio called Emerald. And then the next thing was, well, you've broken down the barriers to those. What's this thing called crypto? We are using AI a lot. And look, it's Raze, R-A-I-Z. AI is in our name. We've been using it. That's how we do what we do with 42 staff. What said to me, especially in the last couple of months, is like, would you do it all again? Because you can build it quicker and faster and that. And the answer is no. Because whilst you can still build the tech, you still need the customers. Yeah. And you'll see my half-year results is there's an ecosystem out there. I've got a lot of competitors out there, and we're all competing for the invested dollar.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to FinTech Chatter. I'm Dexter Cousins, your host and the founder of Tier 1 People, the executive search firm exclusive to FinTech. With me today is Brendan Malone, the Group CEO of Raiz Invest, the ASX-listed micro-investing platform with $1.6 billion under management and over 336,000 customers. Raiz started back in 2016, and you might have known them as Acorns. I chat to Brendan about his first decade in business, including the Raze rebrand, their ASX listing in 2018, and their launch and expansion into Southeast Asia. Brendan, welcome back to FinTech Chatter.
Thank you, Dexter. Good to be here again.
Yep.
When was the last one?
It was September 2020.
2020. Oh, dear, mate. There's a few grey hairs and a...
Yeah, I was going to say, mate, normally what I'm saying in these instances, older, bolder, fatter, and sadly no wiser. Yeah. But I've lost a bit of weight since the last time.
Have you? No, I think I've put it on. There's a few more greys and it's
definitely no wiser, though.
About 6 years,
Yeah, but we're here to, I guess, a couple of things. One is obviously catch up on that time. But this year, Tier 1 People celebrates a decade in business. And it coincides, I think we're about a month out from you celebrating a decade in business. And as part of my celebrations, we really want to honor and pay homage to the businesses that were around when I started Tier 1 People, and really what it takes to build and endure in FinTech. We've both been around for the last 10 years. We've seen a lot of people come and go. Yeah. Look, I thought it would be great to have a chat about that. But more importantly, what do you think the next decade looks like?
Yeah, perfect. Let's get into it.
Let's go back to the beginning, right? Like Raze, you weren't even called Raze, were you?
No. Well, if we go back 10 years, as you said, so February 2016, we launched to the public and opened up to the retail investors out there. But there was another 12 months before that. Yeah. So we talk about March 2015, we had the relationship with Acorns grow, and that's what we originally called out from the US. And we bought the joint venture out here to Australia, and it was kind of, here's the technology, but you guys get the IP up and running in Australia, the know-how, the operational, etc. So we did that for that, so the first 11 months, say, of from March 15 to February 16 and then live. And like, as you said, we've been through so many ups and downs. We've been not only from a political or a economic point of view, but also thematic in our FinTech world. You and I have had several conversations across, the buy now, pay laters, the crypto world, the FinTech world. There's been a hell of a, and then you go into the reg techs and all that. We've seen a lot of them come and go. And it's been a hard grind. So, when you look around today and, it has been 10 years that the two of us have known each other. A lot has changed, but but there's still a massive ramp for the next 10.
Yeah. So let's talk about, and go back in time to that 10-year, kind of starting point. What was the genesis for the idea, and how did you get it off the ground?
Yeah, so it came through Baker McKenzie actually, and a guy called George Lucas who had the opportunity to bring Acorns grow out from the US, right. And they wanted to do global expansion. It was where do you go? You go to Australia. Language is good banking system, good regulatory system. Let's get it up and running. So we brought the joint venture out here, and then we spent that next 10 months, 11 months talking with the regulators. And one of the biggest learnings for me was the payment section, the payments world, because I was in hardcore banking or investment banking, coming back from an accounting background before that. I had no idea about the payment system. So that was a big learning curve and understanding. And that was, I wouldn't say back 10 years ago, but then things have changed since then with the NPP, even the CDR. Consumer data right and open banking, that's all come in through the 10 years that we've known each other. And I'll say there's a combination of mess, but going through the weeds and trees and the forest to get to where CDR's got to now. And I still think there's some room to move on there. But it was really understanding who are the players, who's here. You want to set up a business for sustainability. It's not let's just do everything today and then we'll worry about tomorrow. No, you've always got to look ahead, and that's the way we the way that we thought we have about 3 or 4 key partners.
Right.
So we make sure we pick the right partner that are going to be here in the next 10 years. So we know we're sitting here in 2016 going, well, who's going to be around in 10 years to take us on that journey? Because the last thing you want to do is unplug and plug someone else in the back end.
Now, I've got a loyal following, and I always assume that everybody knows who they are, but we also get new listeners as well. It's probably a good idea if we talk about actually Raze and the solution and the problem that you actually solve. And maybe as if we start where you are now, but then kind of work backwards to kind of what the first iteration of it was and kind of how you gradually evolved.
So as I said, we started with Acorns and now we're Raze, and we changed the name in April 2018 when we listed on the ASX or an ASX as a company. But what drew me to the Raze or the Acorns opportunity to bring out was the fact that it breaks down the barriers to investing. For as little as $5, every Australian can get into the stock market. In the early days, I was doing panels and interviews in the universities and things like that. And you'd ask customers, are you invested in shares? And no one puts their hand up. And then you say, do you have a super fund? And they all put their hand up. So there's a high opportunity. So that financial education, financial literacy wasn't there. And we saw the opportunity to bring the Acorns was then back into to break down those barriers. And it's a bit like, so the problem we were solving was getting into the market and financial education. So we created the system to be able to do that. But what we don't realise as individuals is, what does a professional athlete do? Small bits of training to get better. What do you do with your own education? Small bits of education to get better. Well, why can't you treat that for wealth? So small amounts consistently add up. And if you jump forward to today, we've got over 340,000 active monthly users using the platform. But more importantly, we've got $2.2 billion worth of funds under management. Small amounts consistently up 2.2. That's a lot of money. Over the 10 years that we've been operating, we've invested over $5.5 billion for young Australians.
So the innovation, and it's kind of doesn't seem innovative now, but back then it really was roundups. Talk us through that concept and kind of what you brought to market.
We sort of pioneered the concept for wealth management in roundups, where you download the app from the App Store or the Google Play Store, or there's a web app. We're still running a web app, which a lot of people don't, but we believe that bigger the screen, bigger the investment, and make sure it's all as transparent as you can. But if you download the app, you link a funding source, so that's where your money has to come from, and that's got to be an Australian bank account, not a credit card or a line of credit, because that's all we cash advances. So a bank account. Then the second thing you're asked to link is your roundup account. And why? People go, well, why do you need that? Because we want to use automation. Raze is built on 2 core principles: small amounts consistently add up, but also leveraging technology to make everybody's life easier. And if you can set reoccurring deposits, or you have your automatic roundups going, it does it in the background of life. It's not, originally, we would have said that the perfect customer is Dexter. Download the app, set your automatic roundups on, set your $50 a week recurring deposit, and delete the app. And just let it build up in the background of life. And the core principle of it, especially the roundups, if you link your debit card or credit card to the app and you go buy a coffee downstairs and for $6.50, it rounds it to $7. So it holds that 50 cents. Then you buy some petrol.
$8 are only $3.50 when you first bought it. Coffees,
we put it on a post. It was $3.50 10 years ago, and we just reused it again because it was one of our high performing assets, sort of on social media. And it's always good to get attention. And the first comment on the Facebook, where can you get a $3.50 coffee? Now it's $6.50.
Yeah.
But it looks at your transactions and said, coffee, Caltex, movie, cinema, news agency, and adds up all those. And once those little roundups, 50 cents here, 22 cents here, 80 cents here, it's like the ashtray in the car.
Yeah.
When you and I were younger, you'd pay you pay for things with cash. You'd get back in the car and just put your coins in the ashtray. So it's the virtual ashtray now. And when those roundups get to $5, it direct debits your bank account and then puts it in the stock market for you. And you can have them automatically set up, again, using the leveraging technology to make your life easier, or you can manually go in and do them. And it was very innovative back 10, 11 years ago.
You kind of originally were targeting millennials. Has that kind of stayed true, or have you really kind of changed
I think,
it?
we took the playbook from the US, and it was very much focused on that 18 to 21 years. This is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But what we saw is that our real sweet spot started to become the sort of 25 to 35.
Yeah.
Finished uni, got their first job, have that little bit of extra cash to deposit away and sort of start their wealth creation journey. But today we've got right the waterfront, because the product development's changed so much. We've got Raze Kids, and we've got customers that are 88 and 89 years of age using the app. So it's right the way through.
Wow.
There's no real sweet spot. Yeah, there's a chunk in the middle, but what we want to do is break down the barriers to investing for all Australians, no matter your starting point, because we believe wealth is a right, not a privilege.
So let's talk about the growth plans, because as you pointed out before, we've kind of seen, a lot of things come and go, a lot of hype cycles, a lot of, advice that, well, on reflection, was it actually advice coming from experience, or was it advice coming from what they'd read some VC or influencer on Twitter? And, I think unfortunately a lot of businesses have, suffered or gone out of business as a result of some pretty bad decisions that were made.
Yeah.
I guess some that kind of, I want to have a chat with you about, first of all, the ASX listing, and then the move into Southeast Asia, which, both of them, at the time would have been really sound strategies and growth strategies. Yeah, particularly the ASX listing, because there wasn't a lot of appetite from VC to invest in FinTech back at that time. When you kind of look back at those decisions, what kind of, first of all, what was the thinking at the time, and then what's your thinking now? And if you got your time again, what might you do differently?
Yeah, I think to the first part of the question is, I think there's no normal anymore, especially 10 years ago. Things were changing all the time. And I do believe it was people were reading or listening to someone else. A lot of it wasn't original ideas. They jumped on thematics. And that's where I think a lot of
a lot of it came from the US, right?
Absolutely.
Where you got a totally different market.
Totally. And you think of the scale of arrogance.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy the other day that said he's got a 9% market share in the US. And I'm like, that's great. You think of 9% of the US market versus
is the Australian market
60-70% of the Aussie market. And to his credit, he goes, we want more. Absolutely, but 9% in their first year is great because of the scale and the number of people. But it does come out, and I do. What I'm very happy about with the management team and the board we've had here over the years is we stick to our strategy. Today I have a North Star that's a couple of years down the road. Anywhere from 3 to 5. I've got a 10-year product plan. But you've got to manage to get to these goalposts first. But we stick a flag in the sand, like we put out our half-year results last week, so it told the world or the universe of the investors where we're heading, and that's where we want to continue to deliver them. We don't want to change. And as you said, when Afterpay went to the moon, everybody's like, why can't you be like Afterpay? And there's a couple of reasons for that. If you and I are down the road on Martin Place and you're handing people $100 and saying, here, take $100, pay me back in 4 equal installments, and I'm on the other side saying, hey, give me $100, I'll look after it, whose queue's going to be longer? Simple. So everybody's like, oh, you should be a buy now, pay later company. And then crypto came along. Oh, look, Bitcoin's going to the moon. Everybody piled in. So no, stay core to our thematics. We listened to what our customers were wanting. And when we broke down the barriers to ETFs, because they were the first, our first portfolios were all ETFs, then we moved into some social responsible themes, because our customers said, oh, look, we want to invest in what we did. So we made a socially responsible portfolio called Emerald. And then the next thing was, well, you've broken down the barriers to those. What's this thing called crypto? And my core philosophy is, I learned from a very young age, or adult, young teenagers, of my first investment into Foster's. You only invest in what you understand and what you really understand, not what you like or head versus heart.
So that leads into my next question. One of your side hustles is you manage pubs and own pubs.
I don't do it anymore, but that's okay. Maybe I've learned 2 lessons. On that side of the bar, not this side of the bar. But the customer was saying, well, what about this thing called crypto? So we spent a lot of time, and we spent a lot of time talking with ASIC about how do we get an allocation to crypto, and we chose Bitcoin, hardcore Bitcoin, not a derivative of. So we built a portfolio called Sapphire where it had a 5% allocation to crypto, so that people could understand and educate and I won't say enjoy, but be part of that volatility movement and what that actual asset class actually means. So whilst there's thematics there, you can do it better than just jumping on. And as you and I have seen over the years, a couple of fintechs that haven't survived because they've rapidly changed their strategy. But what I'm happy about, especially with Alex, my CFO, we stay very consistent with what we do, what we say we'll do, and where our strategy's going. But we have it 3, 5, and 10 years out.
Southeast Asia, obviously, on the face of it, huge market, 600 million odd people. Kind of, what I would say is a kind of burgeoning economy. I was in Bali, I think it was about a year and a half ago. No, actually there in a couple of weeks, but it was the first time I'd been back in about 10 years, and I couldn't believe the change. And what it was all down to was the smartphone, right? Like, Uber and Grab and all of that 100%. Stuff. It just kind of, and everybody, whether it was a kind of waiter, they were all like, self-employed brands, kind of, hustlers, right? Like, and it was amazing to see, right? Like, go from people, their only option is to sell me a, bangle or a piece of tat on the beach. Now all of a sudden, it's booming. How did that translate then with the Raze product, and what were the challenges that you saw? Look,
at the end of the day, and we go back to the population, and that's why Acorns originally started. They've got a massive population. Australia's got 24, 25 million, they say, maybe 26 now. But the Indonesian's got 280 million people in it. So it was a scale game because our revenue model is about number of users. A lot of people confuse us as an asset manager that goes, whatever your FUM is, there's your fees.
Yeah.
We don't do performance fees. We don't do anything like that. It is about a number of users. And in Australia at the moment, you either pay $2.50 per month for as many deposits if you're in the light, or withdrawals as you want, or rebalances. Regulars $5.50 a month, and the plus is $6.50 a month. So it's a scale game.
Yeah.
We want, and when you're talking about a population of 280 million people, that we want to bring. The local governments say the same thing. They want to be, any government has a mandate, or should have a mandate, of financial literacy, financial inclusion, financial awareness, and all that sort of stuff. So we saw an opportunity there. And I think to your point, we missed the Indonesian and a lot of the South, they skipped the laptop generation. They went from the PCs to the iPhones, and that's where it's really come when you look at the Grabs, etc. That's a great bit of technology, a great bit of kit, bringing accessibility to everybody. So our biggest challenge was that they want higher growth sort of exercises, and unfortunately there was more investors into the crypto space in Indonesia than there was to the equity space, because they saw the volatility, the higher gains, the quicker gains, the bigger gains, more than that long-term consistency investing. So that was probably our biggest challenge there. They didn't have, or they don't have, an ETF market like we do. What is an ETF? It gives the investor, in Raiz's case, the first-time investors, a massive diversification exercise. They didn't have that, so it was. And then the back. One of the challenges for Raiz was the payment systems. They've got their e-wallets, they've got the bag gig systems. Trying to bring all those together. We're probably a bit too early for all that coming together and having the customers' adoption rate on those.
It's a bit like when you look back, 10 years ago, Netflix came to Australia. But if I remember being a QuickFlix customer, and trying their streaming service, and it was just terrible, right? Like, but I'd still use it to get the DVDs mailed out. And then all of a sudden, broadband started to really kind of, we get the infrastructure, and the NBN got its game together. And all of a sudden, Netflix, like, right, it's ready, let's go. And obviously, they dominated.
And it was a game changer. Absolute game changer.
So it's a kind of lesson that being first isn't always...
No,
it means they're going to be there at the end.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we still, even from our technology and the systems that we use here in Australia, when the CDR came here, we deliberately chose not to be the first adopters on it, Go the second and the third tier to make sure all the kinks are ironed out. And then there is an adoption from the population.
I want to talk about CDR and kind of regulation and a little bit more depth, right? Because I think the biggest frustration that I've got, and I'm not a founder of a FinTech, I'm a business owner, but I'm not kind of trying to create a FinTech. But looking at this from the sidelines, that conversation around CDR has been the same conversation for almost 10 years, and we really don't seem to be any further forward than the kind of conversation we're having about the merits of screen scraping versus.
Oh, I remember those.
Yes. Yeah. So where do you see that it's at from a founder's perspective? One of the things that I'm really frustrated about is that if I look at this past decade, there's billions of investor dollars and hundreds of founders and businesses have been burned, are no longer around. And they've been literally used for R&D from the government and regulators. Let's do another policy submission. Let's do another roundtable. Treasury's doing it, right? Let's say, sign up for your membership fees. 5 different governing bodies all asking you to submit the same policies. Right? Like, what's your take on what we need to do in this next decade if we're to move from, what I call FinTech 1.0, which is what businesses like you guys have done and set the groundwork, to now this next evolution, which, we're in it. We're truly in the digital era now. It's not kind of retrofitting.
No. And on top of that, in the last X amount of months and years, is you put AI over the top of it. Look, that's a good question, and it's a tough one. I mean, CDR drives me nuts.
Yeah.
We have been having the same conversations. People will tell me that the adoption rate's improved and it's going great guns, but from a practicality point of view, from a business and a consumer, when you're doing B2C,
as a consumer, what difference does it make to me?
It hasn't. So, you build, and as I said, we've got a 3, 5, and 10-year plan out there, but if one thing doesn't change here, you got to continue to review it, continually adopt it. And it's not as if you got, especially at the business that we're at now, we have to keep the show on the road. I can't pause just to do a new thing.
Yeah.
We've got to maintain, we've got to keep our customers' privacy and money safe at the same time as integrating new products. So I think, moving forward, and I had actually a roundtable consultation yesterday, another one.
Yeah.
And it is, guys, stop putting the red tape in.
Yeah.
Stop. Let's make a decision. But they're making decisions that my biggest gripe is who's making the decision.
Yeah.
Because they're not talking to middle Australia.
Yeah.
The masses.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of the argument that I've made from day one, right? It's called CDR, which I thought that C stood for consumer, but there's been no consultation with consumers at all, right?
No.
And the conversation's always been about legal stuff and technical stuff.
Exactly.
And so, my views are it's the classic startup mistake, right? Yeah. You're building something, thinking build it and they will come.
Yeah. Well,
and you're not asking the customers what their problems are.
I had the same thing, especially with Raze, and we're very fortunate that our customers will tell us. And there's 340,000. Okay, it's not the biggest, but it's not a small consensus as such. But going back to the pub analysis, we had a bloke down that would turn up every Thursday. Goes, if you put Tui's new on tap, I'd be here every day.
Yeah.
No, you won't, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you won't. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But what we learned, and in the first sort of 6 or 7 months, when our customers were telling us we would like a socially responsible portfolio, we built it, and they moved across to it.
Yeah.
It was, at the early days, it fast became our second portfolio within a couple of weeks, a couple of months. So what we're doing now is we are listening to our customers.
Yeah.
We put a survey out. Kate put a survey out the other day in the app, and we had 66,000 responses.
Wow.
Within 24, 48 hours.
Mate, superannuation firms would love that type of engagement.
And this is what I was saying at the round table. You're not listening to the everyday population. So what we've put out in our half-year results at the end of February was our product roadmap. And, I'm on the road as an ASX company talking to investors about it, and they're like, "Oh, we're a bit nervous." No, we're not a company that builds a product and goes, "Oh, let's go and find the customers." We're putting the product in front of the customers that the customers are asking for us. And what does that do? It creates that sustainability and use of the product.
Let's look forward to this next 10 years because we've touched on this a bit. I'm when I started my business 10 years ago, I was obviously bricking it, right? Like, right, right. Like, I'm wondering, what have I done? And I kind of, and I was equally parts excited as I was terrified. And obviously, the milestone you reflect and you go, well, what's the next 10 years going to be like? And I'm equally parts excited and terrified. And I think the reason for that is, AI. And every founder that I'm talking to saying to me, gosh, if I could start again, I think I could build this business and not hire 500 people. I could hire 50.
Yeah. Look, obviously in the press in the last couple of days, and I've been on the roadshow with investors, and they're like, well, how can one of the banks cut 3,000 support staff for the use of AI? Why can't you do that, Brendan? I'm like, because I don't have 3,000 staff. I've got 42. And we've got, I think it's about 7 or 8, 7.3 or 7.5 FTEs on our customer support desk.
And I think this is the flip of it, right? It's like,
we didn't go out and hire. And, you saw Atlassian go out and hire and had to bring back. And a lot of them have gone up and down, but we haven't done that. We've just stayed true. We've got a great team. We've got experienced people doing what they need to do.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of the narrative that I'm, and this is where I'm kind of, frightened of the second and third order consequences.
You're right, though. It is different. This is different.
From my perspective, I look and I go, great, Brendan, with 40 people, if they all get and they're using AI, they'll be doing the work of 400, right? Like that's the reality, right? And I'm saying that now. It's not up for debate as far as I'm concerned.
No, it's not.
But I think the kind of issue that I've got, the thing that I'm concerned about is, great, we're kind of building all these new startups, but we all know that startups, 90% of them fail. And if, Atlassian is making 1,600 people, right?
Yeah.
That's 16 new startups that have to be super successful, but only with 100 people to kind of make up for that loss, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting kind of period that we're at right now.
Yeah, look, people have said to me, especially in the last couple of months, is like, would you do it all again? Because you can build it quicker and faster and all that. And the answer is no. Because whilst you can still build the tech, you still need the customers.
Yeah.
We've accumulated and spent a lot of time and effort talking to our customers, nurturing them through, which is for a lot of them, I think there was $230 million in 10 years worth of dividends for the first time they've ever received a dividend.
Yeah.
We've done that. So no, I wouldn't do it. Yes, we are using AI a lot. And look, it's Raze, R-A-I-Z. AI is in our name. We've been using it. And that's how we do what we do with 42 staff.
The rebrand, I'm seeing it already. Oh, capital A, capital I-Z.
Lowercase r, capital A. Exactly. That's the shirt. But that's it. I mean, we were calling it machine learning, AI. It's been those terms for years. And what we do here internally is make sure that we're delivering projects. We usually have 3 on the go at a 3 decent ones going, and as well as your hot fixes and keeping the show on the road. But we do 2 for the customers, 1 for back of house.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want to be, and coming from the banks and talking to a lot of friends, they're still having incumbent systems not talking to each other.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we've got 2 for the customer and 2 for the back of house, because we don't want to be the owner builders whose house is never finished. And that's where AI is stepping in.
Yeah. And I guess, if you look at and one of the themes that is coming as I'm doing these conversations is this thing about, endurance, and the same thematics come through, which is,
cyclical.
Yeah, it's cyclical. It's that, but it's also don't chase the bright, shiny things.
Oh, yeah.
Keep true to your vision, but also build over a long time. And whether it's, Chris at StockSpot, whether it's Alex at Spriggy, whether it's, there's a few things that I think are really kind of very, very clear. That is that the CEO or the leader of the business is still super close to customers.
Yeah. Oh, you have to.
Super close. Yeah. And, it's kind of, everything is built with a customer in mind. Yeah. And it's been fascinating over this last decade to say that every business that has scaled, where they stop or where it really kind of the brakes get put on, is usually they bring in somebody external who starts with product, chief product officer or whatever. And they start building.
Absolutely.
They do 2 things, they build the thing that they think is cool, or they listen to the guy at the pub who says you should put on TUIs.
Yeah.
And whoever
Yeah.
complains loudest,
Yeah.
kind of the build
Yeah.
features around that. Yeah.
But I know so many guys out there, mates and fintechs and things that have spent so much, as in millions of dollars, building something, and then turned it off. It's you've got to. And look, I still read the reviews on Facebook and go, even the pub. I hated having social media at the pub because if you sit down and have a good meal, thanks, Brendan, see you later. If you have a bad meal on the train on the way home, you get on the Facebook and you put a bad post, but you've got to read them.
Yeah.
I like reading it now. When I read Raze, we fortunately enough to have more good reviews than bad reviews, but I read both to understand what the customers. And when we set the business up, I talk to customer support and say at Friday, I want all of you guys to give me the top 5 issues that you had, or what were customers ringing for, and we consolidate them and give them to the tech boys to sort it out, or the marketing team to sort it out, whatever it is. I get very upset if any of those 5 are on next Friday's list.
Yeah.
Because all it's doing is blocking up. It's not a great customer experience. It's blocking up customer support for other questions that might be new and relevant. Because no matter, it's technology. There's always going to be a bug. You get your 1 in 100,000 bugs instead of your 1 in 10 bugs sort of these days. So we need that channel. We listen to it. Look, I spend most of my ferry ride home looking at reviews on Facebook to see what the customers are saying.
So next 10 years, mate, what is the roadmap?
Well, mate, if you've lost weight in the last 10, that might be my goal for the next 10. My hair gets a lot shorter than what it used to be these days because of the greys. But I think, and you'll see my half-year results, is there's an ecosystem out there. I've got a lot of competitors out there, and we're all competing for the investor dollar.
Yeah.
The dollar. I'm not fighting for it. We used to fight for Dexter. Now it's kind of like, but what's Dexter doing with his wealth?
Yeah.
Where's he putting it now? Should you have, put $1 in 10 things, or should you consolidate them? So we're building an ecosystem. And I'm going to steal your word endurance, because I still use the word sustainability of the organization, but the endurance let's create an ecosystem that, I've got from kids, millennials, 75% of my customers are millennials and under.
Yeah.
I want to be the Dolomites of my era.
Yeah.
Where there's 34% of our customers still have a relationship with CBA at my level, at my age, because they had a Dolomites account. So if we can create an ecosystem, and what I mean by that is my dad was 79 last week, lived up in God's country near you. He's got a Raze account because he's my dad, he has to, but he's got kids accounts. So Izzy and Tom, 5 and 7, down this end of the scale. So when they turn 18, they'll move to them, and it'll stay in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I really want to build out that ecosystem where we can offer, and I think on that line, there does need to be some consolidation in our space, because it's not only from an investor point of view, but if a couple of us came together and consolidated, it'd be a much better, cleaner, and cheaper experience for a customer.
Yeah, awesome.
So that's what I think will happen in the next, and I don't think it'll be in the next 10 years. I think it'll be in the next couple of years, that we can all come together, because a lot of us don't compete directly with each other. We all do a couple of things well, but not 100% what we all do. If a couple of us came together to deliver that better customer experience, build that trust, build that knowledge and relationship with a customer, the customer will win.
Yeah, awesome.
That's it.
Well, Brendan, it's been great to catch up. We'll
pleasure.
probably not leave the next one for another 6 years,
No, definitely not.
Where can people find out more about Raze, download the app?
Yeah, so it's Raiz, R-A-I, remember the AI, Raiz, R-A-I-Z, invest.com.au. And you'll see this on social media, but available on the Apple Store, the Google Store, or, as I said, we have a web app if people want to get in and learn. But
awesome.
I think, it's a lot of the reason is people say, why would I use Raze? Just remember, it's in there for their wealth. If you put your $10 in and you're not comfortable, you're not happy, you hit the big button that says withdraw and you get your money back.
Awesome. Well, as always, folks, you can catch up with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you are new to the show, make sure you give us a follow if you're listening on podcast. And if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and also subscribe. It really helps spread the word about great businesses like Raze. Until the next episode, keep well,